I think the better thing to do is to record yourself on camera, and then watch yourself on camera, because then you will see you doing that voice, right? And your brain will start to equate that with like, that is actor, to me, it's like, that's actor Steve, right? This is how actor Steve sounds. And if you see yourself with that image and the voice together, I think you start associating yourself more with it. And I think on the other hand is, it's so weird. I think that just the more you do it, that just goes away, because you start focusing on, man, I need to work on these skills. Man, I need to do this audition. I need to do better. And eventually it just becomes normal to hear yourself and you don't think anything of it. So those are the two things I would suggest is, just doing it on camera, and also just keep doing it until your brain gets used to it. Just like anything else, if you do it enough time, your brain starts to be like, oh, this is the way it should be, or whatever. Well, interestingly enough, I learned this because I'm a classically trained vocalist. So fortunately, I was a music minor in college, and I would sing with choirs, and so we learned a lot of breathing techniques. One actually that I really like, it seems counterintuitive, and it's not necessarily directly breathing, but I love it. What you can do before you do a session or before you start doing your voiceover, tense up like your neck and your shoulders, like squish it up as much as you can. Feel free to try this right now if you don't have an injury there or anything like that, right? I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna go, and then totally relax it and let your shoulders drop. And you get this release, you get a release here too, if you've got any tension like in the front of your neck. And that kind of prepares you for actual breathing, right? So it's pretty nice. And you learn this in singing too, is you want to fill up the balloon from the bottom. And what you need to do is men especially tend to puff their chest out, especially start getting older like me, you get more of a belly. So you puff your chest out so it sticks out more than your belly. It's sort of the opposite posture you want for voice acting and singing, is your chest should kind of be a little bit, not totally sunken in, but relaxed and not puffed out, and you let your stomach kind of relax, because you're going to inflate the balloon. So when you breathe in, you're going to imagine that it goes to below your navel, is where it starts at the bottom, and you fill it up going up. And what happens with that is, after a while, you start to learn to breathe that way more naturally without having to think about it. And you get more air, right? And that's good, because you don't want to run out of air in the middle of lines. Usually, though, the way most things work, unless you're doing audiobooks, which is a whole different subject, but the thing that happens is you'll have plenty of air for all the lines that you might need to do between takes. That's a good one. I do one of the things is honestly a singing warm up that I do. So it depends on whether you're musical, but this helps open up your palate, right? Which in the class we're gonna talk about the different parts of the mouth and the head and the vocalization systems. Lift it out, and I sing a warm up, which you could go online and look at singing vocal warm ups, but I do the bumblebee one that I learned in choir in college, which is bumble, 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 bumblebee crowd. That high note, bumble, 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 bumblebee. Plus, you're getting all right, so you're getting your lips kind of warmed up there too. So that's one of the things that I'll do. Another favorite one is the siren. I learned this from Julian Treasure, a great public speaking coach. And so he does the siren. So you get your hands down, you kind of go forward and you start low. You take a deep breath. You go whoa, up and down, right? So you're moving your body and kind of stretching out things here, but you're also getting from the low to the high. And it sounds silly, but actors do even more ridiculous warm-ups, so it's not really that crazy. A lot. One of the best things I learned is how to not hurt my voice, right? To not strain it. just over the years, like, because I used to, honestly, when I was in high school, I'd sing in rock bands and stuff like that, and I'd strain my voice all the time. And when I took the classical vocal training, I learned about the parts of my mouth. And like, I mean, you can get it. There's other workshops and stuff that talk about this kind of thing. You can learn some of that in some of the classes, voiceover classes too. But I feel like I had a much deeper understanding of the voice. Like just learn things over the years, like don't drink alcohol before you perform. And especially now if you're at home, you might be tempted, whatever, but it causes inflammation. It dehydrates the vocal cords. And if you sing or talk a lot with that, you can damage them and you cause more inflammation, right? But the breathing, huge, right? I mean, I needed much more breath for singing than for talking and doing voices. I mean, unless I'm screaming or something, which is rare, but I have plenty of breath for voiceover because I did singing for so long, right? I mean, we had to, hold this fortissimo G for, 12 beats sometimes or whatever. So it definitely, so I think the breath was huge, and learning not to strain my voice were two big things from that, definitely. There's two things you can do. One is you can focus on developing your acting. So yes, you've got your accent. What you want to do is really develop your acting skills, because it doesn't matter how cool your accent is if you can't do what the director wants in the booth, if you can't convey the emotion that they want, if you can't read the lines, without flubbing and, things like that. That's one way you could go. But they have accent reduction classes, right? And so it's a thing you can do, right? If you really, really want to. I have a friend, interesting enough, I have a friend, he doesn't have an accent, but he's got actually I have two friends like this. I've coached them both in voiceover, and they have this unusual way of speaking that is very different from the mainstream. They just tend to make their words kind of emphasized in a different way, right? And that's how they talk. And I'm like, well, okay, but you have to learn how to talk like the sort of, and you hear it a lot, especially in TV too, where they talk about the TV newscaster accent, right? Or the standard American accent. If you study that, that's a good place to start from, right? So if you do accent reduction, then you'll go there. So really there's two ways. I would say, if you really, really, really want to do this, then I would get started working on the acting. So you can start getting cast with your accent. And then in the background, because it's going to take longer, work on accent reduction and get it to a point where you kind of have something close to that TV announcer accent. And then you can start auditioning for that too. Okay, this is a great question. In fact, the short answer is it's up to you. The longer answer is this is something I'm going to address in the online classes that I'm going to teach. One of the big things that I'm going to talk about is being a generalist or being more specific. And a lot of that is really playing to your strengths. My voice is sort of kind of generic main character-y in a lot of cases. So in that sense, that means I can fit in a lot of mainstream roles. But I work on doing the unusual character roles too. But some people are just like, well, this is my niche. I'm the mainstream. I'm really good at these certain things. And then there's like there still are character actors, which is the nice way of saying typecast, right? I don't know if you've heard that before. He's a character actor. That means he always plays. But sometimes it doesn't mean that. It can mean more like, you are good at playing unusual characters or whatever, like maybe Johnny Depp or something like that too. But the point is it sort of you have to explore as you get into your career what you think is going to be your specialty. And that's one thing we talk about, because we're going to look at developing your core voices in my class, for instance, and say, okay, here's your starting point. Now, where do we go from here, right? Do we focus on what we're really good at and stick to these kind of certain voices? Or do we try to hit everything? Because, if you try to hit everything and you're bad at it, you'll hit nothing, right? But if you don't really have a specific direction to go into and you can develop several at the same time and do well at it, then that's good too. Yeah, I mean, for video games and original animation, that's all you have. a lot of times because they're not finished yet. Unless you're dubbing something that's already been made, all you have is the character art. And so that's what, for instance, when I did Citizens of Space, when I sent out the auditions had the concept art for the character with the description of the character. So my actors, I wanted them to have a picture, right? So, picture worth 1,000 words and all that. So definitely we use those, especially if it's original video game or animation, because there's not a already existing product, right? So you can't see the show, so you have to do your best.